I came to Hawaii when I was 17. I went to the University of Hawaii at Manoa, went away to Japan, came back after law school and started working in Honolulu. And I was a deputy prosecutor there, started something called community-oriented prosecution for the state of Hawaii. And then Jay Kimura asked me to come over here. When I came from Honolulu to here, they said that I would bore to death, and I've now sat on probably over 20 different boards, and I'm a current board member of, the Boys and Girls Club of Hawaii, Camp Agape, a camp for kids whose parents are incarcerated. I've been on the Hawaii MCA corporate board. I sit on the board for Next Tech. I've been on Crime Stoppers. I have a whole bunch of different things that I've actually sat on before, and I'm just thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to everybody. In my spare time, in my real spare time, other than trying to help kids and do things like that, I like to eventually get out and play golf every so often.
That you're running for mayor of Hawaii County in part because of your children having to reside on the mainland. Are there other reasons you're running for mayor of Hawaii County, and what qualifies you to earn our vote?
Well, yes, there are other reasons. I think right now we are at a crossroads, and we have a lot of people who are out of work and are having a lot of hard times. Moving forward, Moving forward, we are going to need to have someone that has experience, that knows how to run and how to work with government, how to work with the unions, how to work with procurement contracts, how to solve problems, who knows where the places that things are, where departments are responsible for. I have those abilities. I also have an understanding of the law as an attorney, and I see that our government is making a lot of, doing a lot of things that is not allowing it to be effective and efficient. And some of those are laws that they put in, some of them are just decisions that we made. I think moving forward, we're going to need to make sure that as we make changes, that they're lawful changes and they're legal changes. And, being able to hit the ground running is, I think, one of the great advantages I have. And finally, I think it's important to have people that, not only say they are thinking out of the box, but actually put programs into place. And I've talked about some of those programs before that I've actually put into place in government. And I do see things a lot differently. I run a prosecutor's office now that's different than most prosecutors' offices. And we've been recognized for some of the great things that we've done. It's a we thing, though, not a me thing.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Along with that, you'll be selecting new cabinet positions that will affect economic development, which you've already spoken about. We're very interested in certainly all of the directors, but primarily in research and development, planning, public works, housing. What kind of individuals and skill sets will you be looking for?
Well, first off, I have not chosen anybody to take those positions, but what I intend on doing is I intend on having an independent interview committee made up of people from around the island to interview and make recommendations to me on who we should choose. I've started taking resumes from people. The key thing for me is we need to change the county's philosophy to a county government that helps people thrive and succeed versus just permitting them to exist. So the kind of people I'm looking are, one, who are able to work as a team rather than the way we're doing things right now as we're working in silos. Second, they have to have that servant leadership, that feeling that we are actually helping people. That's our job in government, is to help people thrive and succeed. Not a power and control game. And so they're going to have to be willing to work with some of the ideas that I have. And finally, they need to be able to be people that can treat people with dignity and respect. For businesses, and most of the people on this call are business owners or work in business, you have customers, clients, or guests. If the county if you treated your customers, clients, and guests the way the county is treating them or has been treating them, you wouldn't have customers, clients, and guests. I need to have directors that are going to have that same thought process, that same mission to help people thrive and succeed and treat them like customers, clients, and guests.
Thank you. Property tax representation and infrastructure are all very important issues to us as a community and to economic development. West Hawaii provides the majority of the county's income in the form of property tax revenues, and yet some of our community, including members on the call, have expressed concern that the mayor's cabinet is overwhelmingly, if not exclusively, drawn from East Hawaii. And so that kind of leads to a perception of neglect to West Hawaii issues. And these are things that, you know, we live with our leadership on a daily basis. Can you give us some indication of how or if you're going to correct this?
Well, you know, I hope to correct that through the hiring process, first off. But also, you know, we have a West Hawaii Civic Center that I believe has been underutilized by our county in the last 4 years. Several years ago, I know that the mayor had regular times that not only the mayor, but the county directors would be in that office. I think we need to go back to that, and that is one of my intents, is to make sure that if we have people utilizing those buildings in West Hawaii on a regular basis, but not just in West Hawaii, working in, you know, whether in Kohala or Ka'u, because they feel even more left out than you do in Kona. So I have some ideas of how to do that. In 2000, I instituted a program called the CEO Project. CEO stood for Community Empowerment Organization. And what we did is we went out to each of those districts and we had people trained in facilitation and problem solving skills from the community level. And then they would, you know, regularly have meetings with the cabinet. You know, they move the cabinet around, and you'd have the mayor, and then you'd have your department heads there. And, you know, the community would come up with a plan, and then it would look to the department heads and say, can we do that? And so the department heads would actually come out to the community. I think we need to get back into that place, because we can't solve all of our problems by ourselves. We need to work together as a team, not only with ourselves, but with the community and, you know, with everybody else.
Thank you. Mitch, how do you visualize your first 100 days in your administration?
You know, there's a lot of things that need to be accomplished in that first 100 days. First and foremost, we've talked about the cabinet. We need to get a cabinet in place. The other things that I found out recently, and I actually talked to you about this, is that our county does not have a COVID recovery plan. And so I've started reaching out to people like yourselves and the other members of the different chambers of commerce to start figuring out where we go and coming up with plans. The other thing I'm looking at is just a little bit in addition to that, is regularly meeting with the business community through the various chambers on a regular basis to start talking to them. In the first 100 days, the other things we're looking at is changing some of the way we do the permitting process. And I can talk about that later, to make it more effective and efficient to help businesses get up and running. And finally, one of the other things I'm looking at is setting the stage for a sustainability summit within the first 100 days. And so, like I've done with the chambers on the COVID recovery, I've started a little task force working on sustainability to start looking at different areas. They've come back with about 16 different areas, including the economy, energy, food, various different things. And so I'm hoping that first 100 days to hit the ground running, working on different projects that I've already reached out to people in the community to start working together with me on.
Mitch, you've spoken a little bit about this, but is there anything else you want to share with us about your management style?
You know, my management style is very different than the current administration's, in that I believe in making sure people are acknowledged and appreciated. Our county departments, a lot of our county departments, ruled by power and control and fear and intimidation. I don't believe in that. I believe you motivate people by acknowledging, when they're doing things well. You have to hold people accountable, but it's important also to make sure when they're doing well. So an example of this is currently the current mayor, when he has his cabinet meetings, which we haven't had in I believe about four or 5 months now, he has everybody sit in a room and they're sitting at a desk, kind of like classroom style. And he's speaking to the front of the class and he'll give his talk for about 45 minutes and that's it. What I do with my management meetings is we sit in a circle and I have everybody give a report out. I have them report out to me what's going on in their division, what problems they have, what needs to be done. But the most important thing that I have them report out to me is, tell me about somebody who's doing something great in the organization. And if it's from another unit than yours, that's even better. So what will happen is I'll get a report that Jackie's given that Ross has done something great, and Wendy's there. So Wendy will say, hey, Jackie just gave you kudos today for, getting those memos out on time and doing it with such a friendly manner. So Ross now knows what he did that you like. He's also now built a partnership between, your division and his division. And as the boss, it allows me to go and write a little thank you card to Ross. And, unfortunately I have terrible writing, and what has happened in my office is a lot of times these people will put those thank you cards up. But that motivates people to do well. And that's really what we need to do, is we need to motivate ourselves to do well, to take care of our community, so our community can be a vibrant and successful community. So that's my management style.
Great. So Mitch, this is one that you've been in the thick of and multiple issues, but the community at large and our county council and department heads often disagree on some issues. How will you lead the community and the county to work for the good of all of Hawaii Island?
I think in this last 4 years, one of the biggest problems that I've seen is that there's very little communication between our mayor and our council and our government, county government, and our state legislative and our federal legislative partners. First way of solving problems and getting to solutions is by having open communication. And so, as a prosecutor, I've actually done this. I've invited our council members in to see how we make our budget, because after the first 6 years, I finally got it through my head that everything that I was preparing for them wasn't getting to them. And that would kind of amaze me a couple of years ago when we hired 90 new people for the county without the county council actually understanding why we needed all those people, what the overtime was. So communication is going to be a key to working with our council members. I think we had some bills that went through that got vetoed. I know of some bills that got vetoed, that if there was better communication, that we could have got through that. There were some bills that were made that really could have been done a lot better. If there was better communication, we could have made those bills a lot better. So communication will be the key.
Thanks. Post-pandemic, how important to you is home rule and basically knowing and applying Hawaii County's authority? And, an example that we refer to and we're facing right now has to do with transient accommodations tax as an example.
Yeah. So, what you're really talking is what the legislature will give us sometimes. And, it would be nice that we would have the ability to collect those taxes or to do some of the things that we're not allowed to do. Part of that, I think, is having communication with the legislature as well. They've set some laws into place that make it very difficult to have home rule. So, again, having that communication will make it easier to have some home rule in certain areas. And it is important that we make our decisions because we are not the city, the state of Honolulu. We're the state of Hawaii.
Thank you so much, Mitch. I'm going to turn it back to Wendy.
Thanks, Jackie.